Thanks for joining me today at Learnwake. My name is Brandon Judd, and I'm responding to a video analysis request that has been submitted by Bryan. And this is on a Scarecrow analysis request that he has submitted to us. In his submission, he says um, he's working on his Scarecrow, wants to learn a Crow mob and go bigger with his Scarecrows. He says, I'm fairly consistent with my Scarecrows, but I feel like I'm not going that big. I'd also like to learn a Crow mob, and I feel that I don't have enough time for that rotation. I haven't attempted it yet, but I thought I'd ask for some advice first. Thanks in advance. Um, Thanks, Bryan, for submitting this, first of all. This actually looks pretty good, and looks like you have a lot of room to grow this into grabbed Scarecrows and Crow mobs as well. So that said, I want to go over a couple things I think you can do to improve your Scarecrow and prepare yourself for a Crow mob. I think it's wise that you haven't tried it yet, uh, because I think there's a few fundamentals that we should strengthen first to give you a higher success rate without the scary falls. So the first thing is let's take a look at your Scarecrow, because the first thing is the timing of your flip and how you're letting it send you off the wake. You're letting the wake control the flip and your lower body control the flip instead of your center mass. So let's look at how that has been working here. So this first one is the better of the two. You stand up pretty good here. This is pretty decent. You could get your chest a little bit more upright if you wanted. Um, but it's pretty good. And then here, where you kind of almost jump forward really hard, um, this makes your board fling out around you really hard instead of going up, flipping, and then dropping out of it. So you're just a little eager to get into the flip, and that throws all the weight of your board and boots, all the momentum there. It throws that into the flip, and that's going to control a lot of where you're at. Um, but this looks like a good Scarecrow. So I think you're on the right track. Let's take a look at this next one here. And one thing to mention on your approach, I think you go a little wide for a Crow mob. You don't actually have to edge out that far. You can load up a little harder at the wake, or just have a more explosive edge in. It's not bad for a Scarecrow, but for a Crow mob, I'd go a little shorter when you're learning. And then this one you can see it even more where you like kind of dive into the flip right here. So your board is still touching the water, and your upper body here, your spine, if you look at it, is already pretty much horizontal. So I want to take a look at a melon scarecrow by Kyle Schmidt, and I want you to look at specifically his upper body when he takes off and kind of how he directs the flip. So this looks like it was really wide as well, but it's not because it's so zoomed in. Um, but you'll see how his board is still in the water, just barely, and look how upright he is. That's the biggest thing. His upper body and center mass is still taking all of that pop from the wake and is still allowing it to send him up. He is coming forward a bit, but he keeps his center balance more over top of the board. And this allows him to go up into the flip, get the grab, and then at the peak of the flip, he's able to flip quickly and then drop out of it. He could easily go to Crow mode from here if he wanted to. So that is that is the key for that part. So let's take a look back at yours, um, and see how far forward you are. And what it does is it causes you to flip forward really hard, and then your center mass doesn't move anymore, and this goes around you. So if you watch, we'll try and slow it down even more. Um, if you watch your lower body, your upper body doesn't move a lot, and it's your lower body that's swinging all the way around you. We'll back that up a little bit and have you watch it again. So watch your upper body. Upper body does a lot at first, and then it stops, and your lower body swings all the way around. Um, that's going to keep you from going up as high because you're not straight over top of the board, which is going to be pushing you up. And then for a chromo, it makes it really hard because your board has way more momentum than your upper body does, and you have a hard time controlling it. So that's what's going to be going wrong there if you try a crow mode right away. So here's how you fix that. Like with this melon scarecrow that I showed you here, you want to try and learn this. You want to try and, even if you don't get the board, you want to learn this type of pop. If you can't touch the board, it's not a huge deal right now. You want to be able to go up, and then at the peak of your flip, you want to flip over, and then you want to feel like you're done with the flip and dropping out of it. And the way to do that is patience. So be super patient up the wake, and that'll help you control it really well. Um, Another thing to do is I would suggest watching this front roll and scarecrow handle control video. It's the name of this instructional video, and it covers the Toeside front roll and the differences in handle control between the front roll and the scarecrow, um, which is really important to know when you're doing that. And based on the fist pump that you had in your first one, it looked to me like this is one of your first few ones that you had landed, or maybe you had just started to get it comfortable, but it's not quite as big as you want it to yet. So I would recommend learning a front roll because it's the same landing. Um, it's not exactly the same landing, but it's the same edge that you're landing on with a forward flipping rotation for your chromo. It's not going to feel the same, but typically if I'm going to be doing a chromo and I know I'm going to back out of it and everything feels wrong and the line tension's wrong, it'll turn into kind of an elephant. Like it'll go to scarecrow and I know I'm kind of screwy with it, and so I'll force it back to front roll sometimes. So this is a really good skill to have, so that you're in full control of the line tension, the handle, and your board position. So I'd recommend playing around with this, at least attempting a few and getting comfortable, because you have to flip way more um, on a front roll than you do a scarecrow. And you have to flip more on a chromo than you do um, on a scarecrow. So that's something that you'll want to kind of pay attention to. You're going to be, it's kind of funky because you're actually changing your flipping momentum into spinning momentum, but you need more of that momentum in your takeoff just a little bit to help you go to crow mode. And doing a front roll will teach you that. It's sort of a backwards thing. Normally, when you start adding spins to flips, you flip a lot less, but you use the help of the takeoff to help you spin on the crow mode just a little bit. So because it's kind of a funky trick like that. So that said, let's take a look at a chrome up here, and I just want to give you kind of some pointers once you get to the point of attempting it. So this is Kyle Schmidt's chromo, and he takes a little bit narrower approach than he does with his scarecrow, just by a hair, and again stands nice and tall at the wake. His board's still in the water here, and he's still pretty upright right over top of it. And then he waits to flip until toward the peak of his trick, and then spots the landing really early. He's still at Scarecrow here, still at Scarecrow, still at Scarecrow, and then right here is where he starts rotating to finish the chromo and just sets the new tail down in the water, the tail of his board right into the wake, and that allows him to land upright over his board. So the key is waiting. You don't want to finish your chromo here. A lot of people try and get finished with it here, and it'll never work. You don't want to finish your chromo until right at the water. You want to just kind of stick the tail in the wake, and that'll help you turn around. The momentum is there's a lot of momentum here. A lot of people will over rotate, face the shoreline they're landing on, and their upper body will just fall flat over their face on in the flats here. They don't catch their front edge. They just keep rotating and fall over side of the board. Or they get stuck and don't rotate enough and get stuck in this position and take a back edge. Um, so those are the reasons to wait and save your rotation till really late when you feel really comfortable about it. So that's why it's so important for you to be able to get to this point of your trick and feel like you could just drop out of a scarecrow and you have all this time to spin an extra, 90 to 120 degrees until the tail of your board starts to make contact with the wake and you can complete the rest of the rotation. So hopefully that helps and makes sense. Ways to improve your chances of being successful at this are being really good at Toeside frontside 360s. Uh, if you can't land just a 360 like that, it's going to be even harder to land a flip and a 360 like that. So I would really work on your Toeside frontside 360 landing position, this crow mob landing position, your normal stance toe side blind riding. So I'd work on that a lot, so where you feel really comfortable. The tempo of a toe side front side 360 is also very similar to a crow mob's tempo. You're gonna do a 180 for most of the trick, and then at the last little bit, you're gonna set up and get prepared to just do a hip twist and a handle placement for your backside 180, your switch heel side backside 180, which is the second half of a toe side front side 360, if that makes sense. So hopefully that helps kind of guide you. So again, summing up, my recommendations are I would learn to grab your scarecrow, melon preferably, if you can. It doesn't have to be a perfect grab. It can be by the boot here, kind of like Kyle is doing. Like it doesn't have to be like amazingly placed. It doesn't have to be right on the nose. It can just you can even be grabbing your boot or your calf. Like you just want to be able to. It's not for style points per se. It's more for ability to control yourself in the air. Um, then I'd have you do this front roll and scarecrow handle control. I'd watch this video and practice some of these things in here so you can get comfortable with both of those. Then in preparation for the chroma, once your scarecrow is a little higher, a little loftier, you can kind of drop out of it. I would do toe side, front side 360s and get really comfortable with that blind landing and the tempo of the 360. And then once those are comfortable, you have a good scarecrow, you have a good toe side, front side 360, and you're dropping out of your scarecrows. Then at that point, once you drop out of your scarecrow, you'll just add that hip twist and just like the landing of a 360. I mean, you become almost upright at the end of your scarecrow, and then just that last 180 right before you land should feel pretty pretty controllable if you're good at your toe side, front side 360s and your scarecrows. So um, those are the building blocks. It looks like your scarecrow in particular, this first one was pretty good. The second one you started flipping too early. So if you get more upright at the takeoff and save the flipping rotation toward the peak of your trick, you'll go up higher, you'll have way more time, and everything else will work, kind of work itself out. So um, thanks for submitting this. Good luck. Hopefully everything works out for you, and we'll see you around the site.